Hello and welcome to the 68th episode of Jazzology, presented by Savage Content. I'm your host, Willard Jenkins. We're here alternating Fridays, giving two jazz fans the opportunity to compete against each other for a chance to win $100. Each contestant will be asked a question worth 2 points. If they're unable to answer correctly, their opponent will have a chance to steal the question for 1 point. Well, that's 10 questions, and at the end of the 10 questions, the person with the lowest score will get a bonus question for the opportunity to tie the score, no matter how far they're behind in the score. If they're successful, the game will go to sudden death. The person in the lead at the end of regulation will go first in sudden death, and each contestant will take turns trying to answer the sudden death multiple choice question until we have a winner. So let's meet this week's contestants, and frankly, they are both champions. Our returning champion for this 68th episode of Jazzology is Ted Panken, an American jazz journalist and former jazz history professor who has written extensively for DownBeat, Jazziz, and Jazz Times magazine, as well as for the New York Times, the New York Daily News, and various other publications. Ted has written more than 500 liner notes. For more than 20 years, Ted broadcasted jazz and creative music for stations like WHPK-FM in Chicago and WKCR in New York. Ted co-authored the book My Life in E-Flat, the Autobiography of Phil Woods, for which he earned the 2021 Robert Palmer-Helen Oakley Dance Award for writing from the Jazz Journalists Association, which honored Ted with his Lifetime Achievement Award in jazz journalism in 2016. Since 2015, Ted has conducted several dozen public interviews in conjunction with the National Jazz Museum in Harlem. Many of his extensive interviews and articles are included in the 220 posts on Ted Panken's blog titled Today is the Question. Welcome back, Ted.
I have to edit that bio.
And last episode, our then reigning champion, Ted Panken, was unable to join us. And the winner of Jazzology episode 67, and thus a Jazzology champion, was Enzo Capua, an Italian writer and producer living in New York since 1999. Enzo is the artistic consultant and representative in New York City for Umbria Jazz Festival in Italy, and he is also a longtime correspondent for the Italian jazz magazine Musica Jazz. Enzo has worked as a journalist, radio anchorman for RAI National Italian Radio, writer of several books about jazz history and his life in New York, jazz festivals, and concert producer, music consultant to the Italian Cultural Institute of New York, playwright, screenwriter, and director of numerous television shows, documentaries, and films. So let's get to today's Jazzology, and as our previously reigning champion, Ted Panken goes first. You ready, Ted?
Of course.
All right, Ted. Which of the following jazz artists and composers scored the 1965 film Repulsion? Was it A, Benny Golson, B, J.J. Johnson, C, Oliver Nelson, D, Chico Hamilton, or E, Quincy Jones?
When you first asked the question, Willard, I actually thought it was the Polish composer Krzysztof Komeda, but I guess I'm wrong about that. It was like the first thing that came to mind. So, I have to think about that. Well, I don't think Chico Hamilton was doing scoring in 1960s Hollywood movies, but Benny Golson, J.J. Johnson, Oliver Nelson, and Quincy Jones were. I'm going to remove JJ from that by inference. I'm going by the Matt Merowitz principle of trying to hone things down.
Mm-hmm.
I still think it was Komeda, but I guess not. I guess I will go with Quincy Jones.
That is incorrect. And Enzo with an opportunity to steal the point.
You know what?
Enzo, which of the following jazz artists scored the 1965 film Repulsion? Hold on. I got to repeat the question for the audience. Was it A, Benny Golson, B, J.J. Johnson, C, Oliver Nelson, D, Chico Hamilton, and E, Quincy Jones has been eliminated?
Okay, I think I can answer correctly just because I've been a little bit lucky this time, because I did one of the latest, maybe the last interview with Chico Hamilton. And he told me that because we were talking about the movies, etc. And I was sure, like Ted, that was Christoph Komeda, the composer. But Chico told me that he was the composer. I'm pretty sure it's Chico Hamilton.
That is correct. It was Chico Hamilton who scored that 1965 film Repulsion. So Enzo, you're up next. Enzo, who wrote the liner notes for Miles Davis' classic 1959 album, Kind of Blue? Would that have been A, Leonard Feather, B, Dan Morgenstern, C, Nat Hentoff, D, Martin Williams, or E, none of the above?
Well, I might be wrong. I might be, because I'm not sure 100%. Maybe it's a Nat Hentoff.
Nat Hentoff, C? That's incorrect.
Yeah.
Ted with an opportunity to steal the point and tie the score. Ted, who wrote the liner notes for Miles Davis' classic 1959 album, Kind of Blue? Was it A, Leonard Feather, B, Dan Morgenstern, C, Nat Hentoff has been eliminated, or D, Martin Williams, or E, none of the above?
I think it was one of the musicians on the date. I think it was Bill Evans, so I'm going to go with none of the above.
That is correct. It was indeed Bill Evans who wrote the liner notes for Kind of Blue. So Ted,
I'm an honest man, Willard. I don't steal.
So Ted,
I take advantage of my opportunities.
Honesty is not being questioned here.
Opportunistic.
All right, Ted. Ted, name the now defunct jazz club that fostered a big band in Cincinnati, Ohio. Would that have been A, the Dirty Dog Cafe, B, the Griot Music Lounge, C, the Blue Wisp Club, D, the Smiling Dog Saloon, or E, none of the above?
Willard, you are really coming up with them today. I have absolutely no idea. However, I'm going to again follow Matt Merowitz's and try to do as well as he does by process of elimination. All right. And the only name of the four that is familiar to me, for some reason I've heard about the Smiling Dog Saloon. Now, you didn't ask which big band, and I know you're not going to tell me which big band.
No, I'm going to tell you which big band at the end.
Yeah, well, yes, but what good does that do me at the end? So I'm and as also Matt might go, since the previous question was a none of the above, perhaps you're not going to repeat that. So for those two reasons, I'm giving my thought process, which is this. I'll go for the Smiling Dog Saloon.
That is incorrect. So Enzo with an opportunity to steal the point. Enzo, name the now defunct jazz club that fostered a big band in Cincinnati, Ohio. Was it A, the Dirty Dog Cafe, the Griot Music Lounge, C, the Blue Wisp Club, and D, the Smiling Dog Saloon has been eliminated, or E, none of the above?
That is a tough question, really. Really tough one. I would say, because maybe I'm familiar with the name, a Dirty Dog Cafe.
That too is incorrect. The correct answer to that question is C, the Blue Wisp Jazz Club. The Blue Wisp Club had a big band, the Blue Wisp Big Band, which recorded. So when we're finished, go back to your discography or do a Google search and you'll see the Blue Wisp Big Band. It was quite a fine big band too.
Willard, did you saw this band?
I have the record. Okay. I have one of the records they made from my days at Arts Midwest. And by the way, the Smiling Dog Saloon was in Cleveland.
That's what I thought. That's what was confusing to me. But
all right. Well,
I've never been to Cincinnati in my life. That's I don't know. I only know that my friend Ashley Kahn is from Cincinnati.
Yes,
that's the only thing I know.
All right.
Well, Fred Hirsch is from Cincinnati.
Yeah, he is. All right, Enzo. Enzo, as a young musician coming up in Philadelphia, pianist McCoy Tyner, who went on to become a NEA jazz master, would often rehearse his band in a back room of his mother's business. Was his mother's business an A, corner store, B, a hat shop, C, a hardware store, D, a beauty salon, or E, a dental office?
That's really an impossible question, believe me. I don't really know. Who was the mom of McCoy Tyner?
Yes.
I bet, let's say a hardware store. That's because I'm guessing.
See, a hardware store?
Yeah, I'm guessing this.
That's incorrect. And you know, you came on the show crowing about the fact that you were a champion. So you know the champions, we ramp up the degree of difficulty on the question for champions.
But this has nothing to do with jazz. This question.
Oh, yes, it does. I'll repeat the question for Ted, who has an opportunity to steal a point. Ted, as a young musician coming up in Philadelphia, pianist McCoy Tyner, who went on to become an NEA jazz master, would often rehearse his band in a back room of his mother's business. Was his mother's business A, a corner store, B, a hat shop, C, a hardware store has been eliminated, D, a beauty salon, or E, a dental office?
Well, as was the case with Enzo on the first question about who scored Repulsion, I wrote a long feature profile about McCoy Tyner back around 2003. And he actually talked fairly extensively about his mother and about rehearsing back there. For customers loved it. He knew Bud Powell. He was in the same neighborhood as Bud Powell during those times, and he knew Bud. And his mother had a beauty salon, so it's kind of the opposite. You know, kind of like the other gender equivalent of the barbershop, where a lot of, anyway, it's neither here nor there, but a beauty salon, D.
That's correct. That's correct. And Ted, you've been relying on the process of elimination. When you look at that list of businesses and you think about African Americans at that time in history, beauty salon would probably be.
Would have been for me.
Yeah, would probably be the most obvious of those businesses. So
it could have been a corner store also.
It could have been. Yeah, you're right. You're right. So Ted, you're up next. Ted, sticking in Philadelphia, drummer Jonathan Blake's band Pentad, which recorded for the Blue Note label, includes which of the following piano players? Is it A, Aaron Parks, B, Sullivan Fortner, C, Emmett Cohen, D, Rini Rosnes, or E, David Virelis?
Well, as fate would have it, I just either today or yesterday noticed saw a social media post from Jonathan that band was playing somewhere, so I'm pretty sure it was E. David Virelis, the great pianist from Cuba, who's been in the United States for about 15, 16 years after spending 7 or 8 years in Canada. And actually, which many people don't know, a student of Barry Harris. He actually did an all Bud Powell record before he came to New York, which people don't necessarily associate him with because he's often performs in more experimental contexts. Anyway, David Virelis.
That is correct. David Virelis, the partner of the bassist Linda Mahon O.
We have to correct that. That's Fabian Almazan.
I'm sorry. You're right. Fabian Almazan. My bad.
No. It's cool. It's cool. You're in a different mind space.
As much as I love Linda Mahon, my bad.
That's right. That's right. We have to be right about that. Sorry about that.
This week's spotlight is on a very special chance for you, our viewers, to experience one of contemporary jazz's most prominent stars, pianist and composer Emmett Cohen, live in person as he brings Emmett's Place Live to Miami on January 27th at the University of Miami's Gusman Concert Hall in Coral Gables, Florida. Simply enter your name and email for a free Enter to Win drawing for a pair of tickets to Emmett's Place Live. Please see the link in the YouTube description and on the screen to participate. Hailed by The Guardian as New York's most exclusive jazz concert, Emmett's Place Live in Miami will feature star-studded special guests including Emmett Cohen, vocalist Catherine Russell, drummer Herlin Riley, pianist Shelley Berg, along with Patrick Bartley, Kyle Poole, the wonderful trumpeter Sean Jones, and bassist Phil Norris. This is a free Enter to Win drawing. No purchase is necessary. Compliments of the Jazzology Trivia Show and Savage Content. And our record of the week comes to us from the young tenor saxophonist Nicole Glover. It's Nicole's latest recording. It's called Plays, and it's on the Savant label. Nicole Glover is also the tenor saxophonist for the exceptional all-women band Artemis. So,
Willard, I would love to co-sign your evaluation of Nicole's Glover's record. I thought it was fabulous.
Oh, wonderful.
I had a chance to review it. So.
Oh, great.
Sorry.
Well, we've asked you guys both our opening question. You both responded to the question of how you fell in love with jazz. So let's turn the question around a bit in a different direction this time. And Ted will ask you, Ted, of all the performances you experienced this year, 2024, what stood out?
Oh, someone just asked this question on Facebook. I will mention two. One came last January at this place in Brooklyn as part of the Winter Jazz Fest. Tyshawn Sorey was doing a deconstruction of Max Roach's Members Don't Get Weary. And he had a group with Mark Shim, Adam O'Farrell, Sullivan Fortner, Matt Brewer, and himself. And it was just, well, for one thing, I was standing as close to the bandstand as I am to the screen. So it was just, one of those sorts of things. But also the music was so challenging, but so authoritative. It's hard to describe it. The other one was at the Healdsburg Jazz Festival in June, which I had the good fortune to attend. And Ambrose Akinmusir brought his trio with that recorded for Nonesuch last year with Bill Frisell on guitar and Herlin Riley on drums. And unlike the record, Herlin Riley was really out front on this, and everybody was kind of organizing themselves around him. And he played so much drums, it's hard to forget. Also, the day before that, Christian Scott, a Duja Christian Scott had his band out, and they were playing after the Cookers. So Donald Harrison, Christian's uncle, was there, and he came out and played with them for a while. And he and the percussion player Biji, they did two-way Pakiway, and they did about 10 minutes of the New Orleans Mardi Gras Indian chants out there, and it was it was fabulous. So anyway, that's my three events. I'm sorry, that's a lot.
Well, Enzo, of all the performances you experienced this year, what stood out?
Okay, I can mention two.
Mm-hmm.
Two performances, very important. In January at This Is Club, I saw this young singer, Anke Pinquelle. She's very young and she's fantastic. Really a great singer, and I really love her. I was so impressed by the band. That really was amazing. The other one is, in my festival, Umbria Jazz, Charles Lloyd, with Jason Moran, etc. It was a fantastic band, really. A most really unbelievable concert. Charles is playing better than before. I don't know how you do that. It's 85, I believe, something like that. I mean, still there. Maybe one of the most advanced musicians that we have all today is in jazz.
Yes,
super performance.
Indeed. Well, let's go back to our questions, and Enzo, it's your turn next. Enzo, which of the following vocalists is from Portugal? Is it A, Luciana Souza, B, Gretchen Parlado, C, Sarah Serpa, D, Jen Shu, or E, Becca Stevens?
I believe it's Sarah Serpa.
That's correct. Sarah Serpa is indeed from Portugal.
Mm-hmm.
Ted, the saxophonist Alexa Tarantino has been a member of which of the following large ensembles? Would that be A, Arturo O'Farrell and the Latin Jazz Orchestra, B, Diva, C, the Ulysses Owens Big Band, D, Colossus, or E, all of the above?
And you can add to that the Jazz at Lincoln Center Orchestra now, which she recently joined. Okay, I've known her. I'm pretty sure she's been with the Ulysses Owens Big Band and with Diva. So if that's the case, then the process of elimination tells me it should be E, all of the above. So I'll go with E, all of the above.
And that is correct. Alexa Tarantino has been a member of all of those large ensembles. Enzo, You're up next with an opportunity to catch up. You got to catch up. Enzo, whose New York small group featured guitarist Billy Bauer and alto saxophonist Lee Konitz? Was it A, Stan Getz, B, Woody Herman, C, Lenny Tristano, D, Miles Davis, or E, Gil Evans?
But this one I know because I did an interview actually with Billy Bauer, maybe 1 year before he passed away. I think it's really Lenny Tristano.
That is correct. Billy Bauer and Lee Konitz were members of the Lenny Tristano small band. Ted, switching gears to larger ensembles. Ted, in whose big band did the trumpet players Gerald Wilson and Snooky Young get their big break? Was it A, with Cab Calloway, B, Jimmy Lunsford, C, Fletcher Henderson, D, Count Basie, or E, Lionel Hampton?
That's a good question. Both of those musicians were born before the bebop era and came of age during the late 1930s, when all of the bands that you mentioned, well, Lionel Hampton didn't have a big band then, were big and touring all over the place, and incubated young musicians. Now, I know who this is, but I'm just going to give a process of induction. Cab Calloway had a very established band. Almost everyone in the band was well known. He paid more, I think, than any other of the big band leaders. They traveled in a Pullman car and all this. Fletcher Henderson had an older band, and he was using younger musicians, but although more often with Horace Henderson, with his brother, and he wasn't working so much in the latter 1940s. Basie had his people from Kansas City in the Midwest, and I don't think Snooky Young was from there. Gerald Wilson certainly wasn't. He was from Detroit. And Lionel Hampton didn't have a big band then. So it's Jimmy Lunsford who had such an incredibly popular big band in the 1930s. I once transcribed a bunch of interviews with black women who danced in the chorus lines. A book that Jackie Malone wrote about Charlie and they said that Jimmy Lunsford was their favorite band because Jimmy Crawford's time was so smooth and the band was so disciplined. So anyway, Jimmy Lunsford.
And indeed, it was Jimmy Lunsford. And a little bit of trivia: Snooky Young was in my mom's high school graduating class at Dayton Dunbar High School.
I apologize for all the interpolations. I had a cup of big espresso before we started this.
That's okay.
Apologies for that.
We appreciate the knowledge, Ted. So Enzo, whose big band was the first to arrange and play the solos of Charlie Parker? Would that have been A, Jay McShann, B, Dizzy Gillespie, C, Claude Thornhill, D, Woody Herman, or E, Tad Dameron?
I would say Jay McShann. No?
Incorrect.
Oh my God. I was sure.
Ted with an opportunity to steal the point. Ted, whose big band was the first to arrange and play the solos of Charlie Parker? Jay McShann, A, has been eliminated. So would it have been B, Dizzy Gillespie, C, Claude Thornhill, D, Woody Herman, or E, Tad Dameron?
The reason that's a tricky question is because Willard said arrange and play. So it didn't mean in which band Charlie Parker played the solos, it's which band arranged his solos into a chart. And it didn't say that Charlie Parker played in those bands. So that, again, using the Merowitz method, which I think he should patent, it's not Dizzy Gillespie because Bird and Dizzy Gillespie were playing together. He wasn't, arranging his solos. Bird did do a wonderful location recording with Woody Herman and the great saxophone section, but they weren't playing his solos. Same with Tad Dameron. It was Claude Thornhill, and they did. I can't remember what did they do? Was it Donald Lee, Yardbird Suite? Lee Conus played the solos in 1947.
It was indeed Claude Thornhill.
Bravo, Ted. Very good.
All right. Enzo now has a bonus opportunity to catch up.
Yeah, you can catch.
But Ted has not won yet. So hold your horses, Ted. Hold your horses. You've not won yet. Let's see what Enzo can do with this bonus question, because Enzo can now catch up totally by responding correctly to this bonus question. Enzo, what young tenor saxophonist was featured in Tad Dameron's 1953 orchestra? Would that have been A, John Coltrane, B, Benny Golson, C, James Moody, D, Sonny Rollins, or E, none of the above?
I believe it's none of the above. No?
Nope. That is
Benny Golson. Oh my! You're thinking I was.
That is incorrect. The correct answer is B, Benny Golson.
Benny Golson. Okay.
Yes, indeed. So that means that Ted Panken is our reigning champion once again.
Bravo, Ted.
Congratulations,
Enzo.
Ted Panken, on winning our 68th episode of Jazzology. We encourage everyone to try your hand and play Jazzology. And if anyone watching would like to become a contestant on Jazzology, click the link below and simply fill out the form. You must be 18 years old or older, and be sure to follow us on social media at Jazzology Trivia Show to get all the latest news and updates. Thanks so much to Enzo and Ted and to everyone who joined us for our 68th episode of Jazzology today. Remember, you can check out Jazzology every other Friday at 2:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And if you missed the show live, you can find the archive on the Savage Content YouTube channel. And tune in next time to see if anyone can knock off Ted Panken. Thank you all so much.
Thank you.
Take care.
Bye.